to Christian Teen Talk. I'm so excited for today's podcast because we have a man from Africa, or does mission work in Africa, named Don Babin, and he is an evangelist and does so many awesome things, but he also has an awesome testimony too, just about where he came from and where God has brought him. So I just want to listen in and see what he's got to say.
Well, it's good to be here. I'm glad you invited me to do the podcast. So let me just kind of tell you in a nutshell that I didn't grow up in church. I was a long-haired hippie, and now I'm a long-haired Christian.
You even have your hair up in a ponytail.
Yeah, well, because it's so thick back here, so I put it in a half ponytail. But I was saved in the Jesus Revolution. So I don't know if you ever saw the movie, The Jesus Revolution. But I got saved in the middle of all that. So before the Jesus Revolution came out, there was a move, and a lot of you young people have never heard the word hippie. So I've been in churches and said I was a hippie, and I've had people go, "What's a hippie?" So a hippie was a long-haired guy that, we did drugs, a lot of rebellion. We lived in communes, kind of a simple, minimalized life, but a lot of drugs and drinking and stuff. And I got into that culture very young. I was drinking and partying at 12 and 13 years old, and ended up getting strung out on all kinds of drugs. And I tell young people all the time, don't even start down the path. Don't learn from your mistakes, learn from my mistakes. Right. That's a smarter person.
What made you go into drugs? Like, was there something in your life that just wanted you to not feel anything, or?
That's a good question, and I've really thought about it, because back in the day when I did it, I just kind of did it. Because I was from a family that was a partying family. Mm-hmm. So my mom and my dad, they were drinkers. They didn't do drugs, but they drank, and they'd have parties all the time at the house. So, drinking wasn't like strange to me, because I grew up around it. And so I thought, well, if my mom and dad drink, and I've seen them both drunk, what's it like? So a lot of it was just, I was curious at first. 11, 12 years old, I would sneak some of the alcohol into my bedroom, because they would send all of us back to the bedroom because they didn't want us to see them drunk. And so they go, now y'all go back to the back bedroom and y'all watch Mr. Rogers. Well, we get plastered out of our brain.
That's not good influences.
So we'd go to the back bedroom, and I was maybe 10 or 11, and I'd go, hey, y'all want a drink? We can be like them. So I'll sneak in there, and I'd grab a drink and sneak it back in the back of the house. And I remember doing this. It'd be like, oh, y'all want a party? And I'd drink it, and it tasted. It'd be like, and I'd go, oh, that's so good. Y'all should try it. And it was horrible, made you want to throw up. But it was like we would force ourselves, even though it tasted terrible. And anybody here that's ever drank, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't taste good. It's something you have to acquire. It's something you have to make yourself like. It tastes that bad. And so, I'd go back there. And so it was kind of just to rebel. Just to be like, we're going to act like the grown-ups, and we're going to come back here and we're going to drink just like they do. But, at 11, 12 years old, we never really drank enough to get drunk. But then, when I was maybe getting out of 12 to 13, I wanted to get drunk. And then I started getting drunk pretty regular. And before I knew it, I was going to school drunk, not totally plastered enough where I could handle school. But I was real rebellious. I just became a very rebellious kid. And I've thought about this many times. Why? What made me want to stay drunk all the time? Because I love being drunk. I did drugs, but I loved being drunk. And I'm very ADD. I'm very ADD, and I have ADD in high definition. So I have ADD HD, high definition part. And so, because I was so hyped up, and back in that day, they didn't know what ADD was. I was just hyped all the time, like at school, I could never sit still, and it was like, what is wrong with Don Babin?
That's what I told Don Babin today. I was like, if you're going to be on a podcast, you have to be able to sit in a pretty pink chair and not move. Because he'll preach and he'll be all over, going up and down the aisles, all kinds of stuff. I'm like, you're going to have to sit there.
So y'all are seeing a miracle.
Yeah.
I am sitting down and talking. This is a miracle. So if you've never seen a miracle, you're seeing one right now. Yeah. But I think I started drinking because I was so hyped up. Mm-hmm. And maybe if you have ADD or ADHD, you'll understand this. And I just wanted to be more normal. Because all my friends at school, they weren't always wanting to get up and go and run. And, I was so hyperactive. And when I drink, it would be like it would bring me down to be like my friends. And I really looked at it that I think at first I started drinking so it would bring me to a normal level. So I wouldn't get just plastered. I would just get to where I wasn't so hyperactive and tense. And then, of course, I started liking it. And then I started getting drunk. And, I was getting drunk at 13 years old during the week. Going to school, middle school, drunk. And of course, back then you couldn't tell a whole lot of people because you'd get in a lot of trouble. But my friends knew, and even the friends that I would party with, they'd be like, man, you're crazy. Why are you getting drunk during the week? We can do that on the weekend. We meet somewhere. So I'd, sneak out of my house. We lived in a real affluent neighborhood in Houston. My parents had money. And so I'd sneak out of the house and we'd break into people's garages and steal all the booze out of the refrigerators and go hide in the woods. In the weekends, we'd go have a party in the woods, drink all the beer that we stole. And so my friends were saying, even then at 13, they're like, why are you so extreme? And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I don't know. I just love, drinking. And then it went to drugs. And I tell everybody this, I don't care who you are. Mm-hmm. Drugs and drinking is a package deal. And I'm just going to be straight with you. You don't just start drinking and stay clean. When you start drinking and you start doing drugs, you're going to get arrested. You're going to get in trouble with the law. Let me tell you what, sex, drinking, and drugs, it all goes together. So don't think I'm going to start doing drugs and drinking and I'm going to get married and be a virgin. That's a lie. It is not going to happen. I'm just being straight with you. Right. Because it's a package deal. You get drunk, you get wasted, you're around other people that are drunk and wasted. It's a package deal. It's a downhill slope. And I know some of you don't believe me, but I'm telling you, I lived that scene for 7 years. I've been in jail all over the U.S. I've been thrown in jail in New Mexico. I've been thrown in jail in Louisiana, Richmond, Texas, Freeport, Texas, all over for all sorts of things. And I got worse and worse. And then, I'm taking acid and doing acid trips. I did, maybe probably 200 LSD trips. I was going to school on acid. So I'm hallucinating, sitting in class, and I'm not joking. I would sit in class, lay my hand on the desk, and on acid, I would watch my hand melt. I'd just watch my hand melt into that desk and hallucinate. Wow. The teacher would be up talking. I'd look at my arm, and hallucinating that I could see my blood vessels and my blood flowing through my arm, and the teacher would be up there teaching, and I'm tripping out on acid, and I just kept doing acid until I had a lot of really bad acid trips where I relived a car accident. I relived part of my childhood in this acid trip, and I didn't think I was going to come out of it because I took way too much. I never took one pill, always took 4 or 5. And so
overdosing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was like, I'm not coming out of this trip. And so I'm going to be messed up like this the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And it scared me. And so I was tripping on this acid for about 14 hours. And I thought, this is it. I'm never going to come out of it. And it scared me. And I was like, in my heart while I'm tripping and hallucinating, I'm thinking, I just want to live a normal life. I just want to be a normal kid. What's wrong with me? I kept thinking, what's wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my brain? Why can't I be a normal kid? I'd see straight kids that didn't drink, didn't do drugs. They made good grades in school, and I'd look at them and I'd admire them. Mm. And I used to think, why can't I be like that? And of course I was dating, and I even dated 2 girls that didn't drink, didn't do drugs, didn't do any of that. And I thought, maybe if she'll date me, she could help me not be messed up. I could be like her. And then I would start dating them, and we'd start a good relationship. And then they'd pick them up, and I'd go, look, I'm going to go pick up a 6-pack, and I'm just going to drink a few beers. And she'd be like, take me home.
Yeah.
I go, well, I'm just going to drink a 6-pack. I won't be drunk. I'm drinking. No, take me home. If you're going to drink, I don't want to be around you. And of course, I'd take her home. And then I'd go get wasted. And I thought, wow, why am I this way? I hated it. Why can't I be like a normal kid? Mm-hmm. You know, I just want to be like them. I want to make good grades. I always barely made it through school. I don't remember anybody in school. Now, maybe they did, but I don't remember anybody. God is my witness ever telling me about Jesus.
That's sad.
Not one time did a kid in school ever come up and say, do you know Jesus Christ? And I'm telling you, if they would have, I probably would have gotten saved then.
Because you were just trying to find fulfillment in anything that was there, so you were willing to try it, yeah.
If somebody would have told me, if you accept Jesus, you could be a normal kid, I probably would have prayed then instead of after all my trouble. But I don't remember anybody. I do remember being in school, in a class, in a speech class, and you know, I was always in trouble in school. I always getting kicked out of class, and I was sitting in class, and one of the teachers said, one of the students says, oh no, Don Babin's in this class. It was the beginning of the year. And I said, what, do you have a problem with that? You know, because I had a lot of anger. I'd fight anybody. I'd been in so many fights. It was unreal. And I go, what, you got a problem with it? And it was like, you're just so bad. You're just so bad. I don't even want to be in a class with you. And I found out later she was faithful to her church.
Oh, my goodness.
And I thought, why? Why didn't you tell me about Jesus? I would have gotten saved. But instead, she hated me because I was a bad kid. And I thought, you know, she could have told me about Jesus. I don't know how long it would have taken. But if she would have maybe built a relationship with me and won me over, I might. But instead, the church people hated me because I was always in trouble at school, always causing problems, in fights, in the hallway. You know, everybody's standing around, you know, hollering at me for fighting. The teachers coming, pulling me off of people. And, you know, so I had a lot of anger, a lot of hate, a lot of rebellion, and then going to jail. I got kicked out of the Houston Independent School District. So there was no school in Houston that would have me. So my parents had to move out of the city of Houston. I got thrown in jail 3 times in the town that we moved into almost immediately. And so everywhere I went, I had a jail record, and I hated myself, but I didn't act like that. I acted like the cool party kid.
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew that's what I was supposed to be. See, you know, I'm supposed to be the cool, long-haired, hippie, fun guy. And so I acted that way, but on the inside I was dying. So I'd go to a party, and that was the life of the party. I was joking, but on the inside I was dying. So that's why I would always do more drugs. And then I started using the needle. And I'd go through a box of 100 26.5 gauge plastic pack needles in a month. Easy, using them 2 and 3 times. So this is no joke. Because I would mainline in any vein I could find, even on the top of my hand, sometimes in my leg, because your veins, your arms get sore because you're bruised from all of the times and when you're drunk or stoned, you know, sometimes you abscess, you shoot the drug underneath your skin instead of in the vein, and you got sore. So in the summer at school, I had to wear long sleeve shirts. And it's hot, and people would laugh at me and go, why are you wearing? Because if they would have seen my arms, they would have seen needle marks. And so I was embarrassed about that. And, you know, back then, if you were bad or you did something, they'd take a board and beat you with it, you know. And I had my name all over that board because I'd been beaten with it so much. And so I failed PE because I couldn't suit up.
Oh, because, yeah.
I'd have short sleeve T-shirt on, and they'd see my needle marks. And so I'd go to jail. So I was real embarrassed by that, but I always tried to play the cool, fun guy. And then I got just totally addicted to drugs, where I was shooting just massive amounts. I was doing, I mean, I've done LSD, THC, PCP, MDA, SDP, psilocybin.
I don't even know what any of...
hash.
Crazy.
You know, mushrooms, cocaine, heroin, uppers, downers, cooking it all, you know, anything I could cook up, I'd stick in my arm, smoke what I could smoke, make tea what I could make tea out of, brownies what I could make brownies out of, And it ended up where I was pretty much stoned every day for a long time. Every day. I'd wake up, get stoned, crash, and pass out. And then, of course, you got to sell drugs to make money, to buy more drugs, and living in fear of the cops going to catch me. And so you're paranoid all the time. And I just got to where, I broke into a veterinarian clinic and stole the phenobarbital. That's what they put animals to sleep with.
Oh.
But phenobarbital, if you shoot the right amount, will make you high. So I broke into the clinic, stole some phenobarbital, and mainlining phenobarbital, I mean just like, 4 cc's at a time, and then sit there and just kind of come out of it and mainline again, and then And my drug friends would say, "You're going to kill yourself. You keep doing this, you're going to die, man. This is crazy."
God knew you had a purpose, though, because you're not dead, obviously.
And I should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, if anything, I should be brain dead. I've killed enough brain cells on the narcotics that I shot. I didn't know anything about God or Jesus. Nobody told me about Jesus.
And that's the thing, on one of our Arizona mission trips we went on the way, we stopped at a hotel, and there was this guy there that was straight up atheist, but he didn't used to be atheist. He used to be a Christian, but the Christian church was just so rude, and he said there was no hate like a Christian's love.
Wow.
Isn't that, it hit hard, because it was like, all we try to do is minister and love those who feel unlovable, because that's what the book of Luke is all about, the outcasts, and Jesus loving on the people that were unlovable, and then the Christians are just like all about religion and not really about loving people.
Yes.
And so you didn't ever even know about Jesus, probably because of where you were.
I had no clue. I didn't have an idea what love was. And my parents loved me, obviously, but they never showed affection. I don't ever remember my dad saying, "I love you." He grew up with 12 children, 11 siblings. And so I never really knew. I obviously, I wanted to be loved, though I didn't know what love was. But it was like, I'd see people dating. And I used to think, wow, it must be really cool to have somebody that loves you. Because dating for me was not about love. It was about a party. So, I wanted that. And I've always wondered why somebody didn't come up to me. All the places I've been. I mean, I've been in communes in New Mexico. And I've been all over. Nobody ever said, "Have you ever heard of Jesus?"
Weird.
All those years, never. The only guy that really told me about Jesus was when I got busted in Louisiana, and I was going to spend 7 years in the penitentiary. So I was out waiting for my hearing. And I went to go see my drug friend I used to get high with in high school. And he got totally changed. And when I saw him and he was smiling, and he used to not smile, I thought, wow, what happened to him?
Yeah.
I really thought there must be a new drug because he didn't smile. And so I thought, man, if I could get a hold of that drug. Well, I found out it was Jesus.
Wow.
And he began to tell me, about being born. I didn't know what born again was. I didn't know what Jesus in your heart. I thought, Jesus, why not in your kidney? Why not your liver? Why does he have to? So he's a cardiologist, he's into hearts, but not into the rest of it. So, I wanted what he had, but I was too cool. But I saw he had a different quality of life. He had joy. He had peace. He had friends that I thought loved him. I didn't know for sure. But I thought I would like that, but I don't want to give up my fun life of being in jail and drugs and OD.
The fun life,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Fun. Yes, I was like, I got to give all that up to have what Jerry has. And I kind of didn't want to give it up. But I did want what he had. And he ended up getting me to go to church. And, I heard the gospel for the first time in my life. And people came up and they were hugging me. And it was like, it was a different kind of hug than the world. I don't know how to explain it, but it would be they'd come up and hug me and they'd say, "Hey, I love you, brother." And I'm thinking, I don't even know you. You're not my brother. We're not related.
Yeah.
How's this brother?
Brother
and sister. I used to think everybody's related in this church. But
that's funny.
I knew that the love there was, there was something to it different than what I knew, and I wanted in on that. And the first time I heard the gospel preached in my life, I got saved.
Wow.
And I was, at that time when I got saved, a lot of people really struggle with this. They don't believe it's true, but I was strung out. So in other words, I don't mean, when I say strung out, I had to have drugs. So I was shooting a lot of speedballs, which is cocaine and heroin.
Oh, yeah. I was like, you're going to have to tell me.
So cocaine affects you mentally. It's a physical high too, but a lot of mental stuff. And heroin affects your nervous system. So heroin, when you shoot heroin, you just kind of sit there and nod out, like, and you just feel good all over your body. But I didn't like sitting there because, it's like practice. So it's like, man, I like what heroin does to my body, but I also like to go to clubs. And so I started mixing cocaine and heroin so that the cocaine would pick up my brain, the heroin affect my body. Then I could go to nightclubs and drink booze while I'm on this. And a lot of famous people OD'd on this speedballs. John Belushi's just one to name many. And so at that time when I got saved, I could go 4 days. 4 days before, when you're addicted to heroin and you start coming off, you start itching. I mean, I just can't explain it, but you just itch all over and you're wiping your nose all the time. And then the addiction to cocaine and, stuff like that, the heroin I was doing, it makes you want to throw up. Yeah. So when you're coming off of it, you just want to throw up. And so I could go 4 days, and I never would go 4 days. I'd just mainline and get wasted again. But when I got saved, I was so happy that I had what Jerry had. It's like, man, this is going to work. And what I've really wanted all my life, I'm going to find it. And it's in Jesus. I was excited.
That's good.
But I knew in 4 days it wasn't going to work. Because in 4 days, I was going to start withdrawing from narcotics. So it was like, I was so bummed out because I wanted it to work so bad. And 3 days, I'm thinking, here it comes. Should I call Jerry? And so I called Jerry and I said, Jerry, I'm strung out on drugs. And I'm going to start withdrawal, so I'll probably start shooting drugs again. And he was like, no, you know Jesus. And I said, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, great. I wish it was that way. But I know better. I know what it is to be addicted. And the 4th day came, and I wasn't itching.
Oh, wow.
And my stomach wasn't hurting. And the 5th day, and the 6th day, and I had zero withdrawal. I was totally set free from drug addiction. And that just, to me, it's like, this is not just church.
Wow.
This is God. I mean, this is the real thing. I mean, nobody could do this.
Good.
And here I am, free from drug addiction, not even the desire to do it. And, man, it just went from that to, I read my Bible all the time, because, when I went to church right after I got saved, I was sitting next to a 10 or 11-year-old girl, I don't know, but she was sitting right next to me. I didn't know the Bible. And the pastor, I don't even know what passage, but the pastor said, open your Bibles to like 1 Corinthians. I don't know that it was. Yeah. But open your Bible to this. Well, I started looking like Genesis.
Oh, 1 Corinthians is like.
It's like, man, he'll be finished preaching by the time I go through to find 1 Corinthians, It's like, and so I'm like, man, how do people, and that girl next to me, 10 years old or something, she just went, and she was looking at it. And I was like, oh my God, she's a little theologian. To know how to find it. And she looked at me, I'll never forget this. She goes, can I help you, sir? Because she saw me flipping through my, sweet. And I was so embarrassed. I wanted to go, shut up, you little brat. But I was so embarrassed that a 10-year-old girl could find it. And here I am, I guess 22 years old, and I couldn't find it. So I went home from church and I said, I'm going to know my Bible. I'm going to read my Bible. I'm going to study the books of the Bible. I never want to be stupid like that again. I never want to be embarrassed. And I just started reading my Bible hours every day.
Wow.
I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and read till 8. And I'd just read and read and read. And I did that for years. 4 hours a day, just reading. And I just wanted to know when people would preach, I could say, I know what you're talking about. So it drove me to really studying the Word of God. Next thing I know, I was preaching, and then I was traveling around and preaching. And I didn't even know what an evangelist was. But I was getting invitations from everywhere. Would you come share your story? And I'd go to churches, and hundreds of people started getting saved, and thousands of people started getting saved, and now we've seen 200,000 people saved. So
that's crazy.
That God could take a messed up kid.
Yep.
Totally messed up. And that God even cared about me. Because I've hurt so many people with drugs. I mean, people have died because of me, because of drugs. And that God could take somebody like me and love me, put himself inside of me, And everywhere I went, he was with me. And then used me to see other people get saved. And then used me to go to churches and see a lot of people get saved. And then next thing I knew, I was doing crusades. And we were seeing hundreds and hundreds of people saved. Buildings were filled to the overflow to where they had to put closed circuit TV in gymnasiums. And, just more and more people getting saved. And then next thing I knew, God sent me to Africa. And, we've seen 75,000 people saved in the last 15 years. And people groups changed. And, so, it's never too late.
Right.
Maybe right now you're just 10, 11, 12 years old. And maybe you have no idea what life is about or what God wants to do with you. But I can tell you this, God has a plan for you. And his plan for you is perfect just for you. He's got the perfect man. He's got the perfect woman picked out for you. He has the perfect job or the perfect ministry or the perfect college that he wants you to go to. All of that's worked out. It's just you getting in the groove with him and just moving with him. And he's going to take you to a higher place every time. Not that there's not difficulties. You've been through difficulties. Everybody's been through difficulties. But, it's one thing to go through a difficulty without Jesus.
Right.
Than to go through a difficulty with him. And because I lived in the world, I've been through a lot of hardships. Living in jail is hard. Being in fights. I've been in ERs because people have beaten me so bad that it sewn me back up. So I've been through difficulties without Jesus. And, when you have Jesus, yes, it's difficult, but he's there with you. Daniel in a lion's den. Can you imagine? They don't feed these lions on purpose so that when they put you in the den and they open it up, they're going to devour you in a second. And you haven't read the book of Daniel. So you don't know. You're thinking, I'm Daniel, I'm going to get eaten. And so you're in the lion's den, and the lions don't mess with you.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing to be in a lion's den without him. But when you're in a lion's den with Jesus, it's totally different. When you're in a fiery furnace without Jesus, you burn. But when you're in a fiery furnace with Jesus, he protects you.
That's good.
So it doesn't matter what you're going to go through with Jesus, he's going to be there for you. And it's not always easy. But, life isn't always easy. There's hard things in life. But I can tell you this, now that I've lived the hard life and the good life. The hard times in Christianity don't compare to the hard times when you're lost and messed up without him. So, when I meet Christians all over the world and they go, it's so hard living for Jesus, I want to tell them, oh no. No, go live for the devil for 5 years and then come back and tell me what's harder. Living for Jesus is so much easier than living for the devil.
Yeah, like that saying, the grass looks greener on the other side. Sometimes it's like, wait, but I'm that Christian girl seeing those group of girls like in the cheerleading and gossiping and going to parties and all kinds of stuff. But then it's like, wait, but I've got the upper hand, Yes. Like the life of Jesus is so much better if only they knew. Yeah. And then I try to tell myself, you might be the only Bible someone ever reads. Like if you're not in your word and knowing the Bible and who Jesus is and who you are in Jesus, then like what's that scripture, Galatians 1:10? How does it go? I'm thinking about if I am living for approval of man or approval of God, then I wouldn't be a servant of God. Yeah. And
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But that all the worldly, we say, like, I had a podcast about secular music and should I be listening to it or not? And it's all what feeds your soul. So the drugs and alcohol wasn't feeding your soul the right way. Secular music isn't feeding your soul how you need it to feed it, because God left that hole for you to choose Him.
Yes, and it's suggesting. Secular music is suggesting a lifestyle. And you say, well, I look at these girls over here, the cheerleaders and the parties, and it looks good. It looks good, but they're making it look good. See, I made it look good, but nobody knew back in that day how miserable I was.
Right.
That I hated myself. But whenever I was in the public eye, I was the cool guy. I was the party guy. He's the popular guy. And so, I was the guy that walked around school and everybody was like, man, he's just cool and he's so in. But I was miserable. So I'm telling you, these popular people, and maybe you're even watching this podcast, you know exactly what I'm saying. Because you look at yourself and it's never perfect enough. There's always something else you got to fix and make better. And if you look at all the Hollywood people, what are they doing? Pumping stuff in their lips and having their face, and they just look different. Do you know why? Because they're not happy with themselves. If I could just make myself look a little better, if I could just do this, I'll be more popular. And I know, because I've been in that side of the world, and I've hung out with the people that are rich drug dealers. And I'm telling you, they're miserable. And that's why when I saw the Christian world, it was like, it's real. Like, they don't have to fake it. So, it might be the popular cheerleader looking at you. And they would never tell you this, but I wish I had what she had. She smiles. She's happy. She has a good home. Because they're just faking it. And they're throwing away very important parts of their life that they can never recapture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of the people in the world, it's an illusion. It really is an illusion, because this is what cool looks like. But, the honest thing is, nobody's born cool. We're all born the same way.
Yeah.
We just play into the illusion. We just do the role play. We just act cool. We buy the cool clothes. We fit in. We learn the lingo so that we can be cool. But we're no different than anybody else in the school. As a matter of fact, probably more miserable. But, I wish back in the day that, and I've thought about this, somebody could have witnessed to me. But you couldn't have come up to me and told me, you're just a messed up, worthless drug addict, because I'd have beat your brains out right in school. I didn't care. If they kicked me out, it'd be like, oh, great, I'll go to the beach and go surfing, So getting kicked out of school, I've been suspended from school many times. It was just a day off. And I told the principal, I'm suspended for 2 days. Great, I'm going to load up a surfboard. I'll be at Freeport. You're not hurting me, buddy. You're giving me a day off.
Yeah.
So, and my parents couldn't control me, so I was totally out of control. But, if somebody would have come up to me and first tried to be my friend, you couldn't have come up to me and said, you're a drug addict. I would have beat him, seriously, because I didn't care about nothing. And when I got into fights, I'd fight 3 and 4 people, end up in the ER being stitched up, because I was just mouthy. It's like, come on, I'll take all of you on. I don't care. And I'd be on drugs, so I'd get beat up. But if somebody would have become my friend, even though I would have kept them at a distance, but been nice to me. Because, see, the straight people, they didn't like me. The church people didn't like me because I was the troublemaker. So I became their enemy. But I look back, and if some of them would have just been my friend and said things like, I really care about you. And I just want you to know, not in private they would have said this, not in front of my friends. Hey, I'm praying for you. I pray every night. That would have blown me away.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, wow, you're praying for me? Yeah, man, I'm just praying for you. I care about you. I don't think, hey, I love you. That wouldn't have worked, I didn't know what love was. But if they'd have said, I care about you, I'm praying for you, I would have listened to them. They'd have won me over. And I know they could have said, the only difference between you and me is I have Jesus. And I would have said, well, what does that mean? Well, you have Jesus. Well, you have a corner on it? You know, Jesus is your slave? How'd you do that?
Yeah.
What do you mean I have Jesus? I didn't get it. But they could have started talking to me. I really believe I'd have gotten saved in high school. But I never got that opportunity. Nobody ever.
It's sad. And it's like, so we have two different sides of the story. You have the drug addict struggling outside, and then I'm the Christian trying to be like, come on, sometimes it's discouraging when you're talking to someone who you know is not living for God like they should be, and you're just like, hey, how's your day going? Or you should come to church, and then you just straight up say no. Or like, but really it's probably affecting them more than they show it is. So you're just talking about how, like, it probably would have meant so much more if someone just said that to you. And then from the Christian point of view, I'm probably like, sometimes I just want to give up from trying for those people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's affecting them like it needs to be.
Yeah.
But it really is.
It is.
So
like
that's
Jerry,
encouraging.
you know, he invited me to church to a Friday night Bible study many times. And I said, no way, are you crazy? I'm a drug addict. You want me to go do what? Study the Bible? You're crazy. But he kept inviting me. And he always did it in a really cool way, you know, kind of subtle, like, you know, hey, I'm going to go to that Bible study Friday, and I'd love to come by and pick you up. Jerry, it ain't going to happen, man. It's never going to happen. Quit. And he never quit. And he'd always tag into it. I'm praying for you because I care, man. Because he was you know, a drug buddy of mine in high school. But he'd always say, man, I'm praying for you. You know, I care about you. And then finally I ended up going to church, and that's when I got saved. So what if he wouldn't have done that?
Right.
You know? I mean, what if that girl, instead of saying, I hate you in speech class because you're a troublemaker, what if she would have said, I'm praying for you? So, and to a degree, a bad guy wants to make the Christians hate him. Because, see, if I can get you to hate me, I win. So if they're like, I hate you, you're such a troublemaker, it's like, yeah, man, and you're the Christian, and I won. Because I got you to hate me.
Yeah.
But if they would have kept loving me, if those people, I would have gotten saved way before I got saved.
Wow.
So, you know, you build a bridge to people. And I don't think condemnation ever worked. It would have never worked on me. Because, I mean, I hate to say this, I didn't have a conscience. So when I'd shoot drugs, and a friend of mine died in my apartment because I shot him with too much drugs, it didn't bother me. I had no conscience. I mean, you just wouldn't believe some of the ungodly things that I did. I had no conscience about it. So for somebody to try to guilt me, it didn't work. It was like, guilt? Are you kidding me? I mean, to be guilty, you got to think there's got to be a right way to live, and I don't believe in a right way to live. So what can I be guilty about? But if they would have just reached out and just been my friend, you know, little things like, is there anything I can pray for you about in private?
Yeah.
I probably would have told them, yeah, man, I'm strung out on drugs and I hate it. So, you know, the Christians are on the winning team. And Christians forget that. And the devil wants to make you on the losing team. Because you're not popular, and you're not cool, and you're not in, and you're not the cheerleading, and you're not in this squad, and you're not on that, you know, you're not in any of these. And then when you go to college, it doesn't change, because then it becomes fraternities.
Oh, yeah.
So then it's like, well, you know, we're in this fraternity. And so, you know, it's like, but really all of those people, deep inside, they're hurting. Because, you know, love is a fruit of the Spirit, right?
Right.
So without the Spirit, can you have love? If it's the Spirit fruit, the only way to get that fruit of the Spirit is to have the Spirit. Can you really have peace if you don't have the Spirit? No, because it's the fruit of the Spirit. And so I wanted those things, but the only way I could have that is to have the Spirit. But it didn't make sense to me. So those people like you're on the winning team because they see it in you. I mean, what's the purpose of the fruit of the Spirit? To make me happy? No. What's the purpose of apples on an apple tree? Does it make the apple tree happy? Is the apple tree going, woohoo, I have apples? No. The purpose of an apple tree having apples is so people can enjoy the apples. The purpose of a Christian having fruit is because other people are going, I want that fruit. I see something in them that I really do want. And I saw it but they never told me what it was.
That's crazy. It's like the church is a hospital where people need to go, but the church has become a religion instead of a hospital, and all about rules and regulations. And like you said about at church, you were talking about how they wouldn't let you in the church unless you cut your hair.
Right.
And that's all like just the law and rules, and then that's not Jesus at all.
Right. So I had long hair as a hippie. When I first got saved, I tried to go to church, so you'll understand. And a guy met me at the front of the church. This is back in the 70s. And the guy said, if you cut your hair, we'd welcome you into our church. And I told the guy, what makes you think I want to go to church that bad? I mean, you got to be crazy. So
yeah, not to cut my hair.
I mean, I didn't have to go to church. And I think you're an idiot, That's what I thought. But, I mean, we need church. We need each other. Mm-hmm. The purpose of church is fellowship and testimonies and things like that. And it's really important. But, the church has a bad rap right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I hate to say that, but we got a bad reputation, because we've done a lot of stupid things. But, why can't your generation make it better?
Right.
Why can't your generation turn it all around? And, we work in the bush of Africa.
That's good.
We work with tribes that live out in the middle of nowhere. They kill lions with spears. And, we work with some crazy people. But what's won them is not my preaching. What's won them is not me giving them shoes. What's won them, while we've seen so many people saved out there, is because they know we love them. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a church. We met under a tree, and we just loved them. We'd buy shoes for their little kids, food when they were starving, and we just love them. And they saw Jesus in us, and it attracted them to us. It was like, this white guy, what is it about him? Why does he keep coming back? Why does he love us? They would even ask me, why do you keep coming? And I'd say, I love you. And it didn't mean anything to them. That's an abstract word. You love me. Okay, so why do you come out here? I love you. I don't understand. Oh, love. You give my children shoes. You feed us. That's love. Yeah, it is. I keep coming back. That's love. Well, then they started getting saved by the thousands because they saw that we loved them. That's what's missing in the U.S. Mm-hmm. You can't get a kid to go to school like, well, we have a pastor that really knows the Bible good. Well, who gives a rip? Yeah. If you're lost, I don't care how good he knows the Bible. What everybody in this world is looking for is somebody to love them. Mm. You get a dog. What does that little dog want?
Love and attention.
Isn't that it?
Yep.
And a dog, you can kick the dog, beat the dog. What does the dog do? He jumps back in your lap. Just wants you to love him. Mm-hmm. We have a world full of people like that. They've been kicked. They've been abused. They're just looking. I just want to find a lap I can jump into that somebody will just keep loving me. So you can beat me. You can kick me. You can not feed me. But I'm going to keep trying to find. I'm going to jump into a lap and somebody's going to love me. And I'm telling you, we just love this world. Paul wrote it in 1 Corinthians 13. Mm-hmm. You can speak with the tongues of men and of angels. Wow. And if you don't have love, you're nothing. He said you can have all faith. That's a lot of faith, isn't it? Mm-hmm. All faith? So you can tell mountains to move? And if you don't have love, what are you? Nothing.
Wow.
You can know all mysteries. I don't know all mysteries. Nobody does. Explain the virgin birth. Explain when this began. How far back does all this go? What's an infinity? What's an infinity future? I don't know all mysteries, but Paul said you can know all mysteries. And if you don't have love, you're nothing. You can sell everything you have and give it to the poor. I'll take it to Africa. Sell your house, sell everything. And if you don't have love, you're nothing. You can give your body to be burned. And if you don't have love, you're nothing. What does the world need today? Everybody listening to this podcast, I don't care who you are. I don't care how cool you are. I don't care how bad you are. You just want somebody to love you. And if we just love this world, it's the most powerful tool that we have as a believer. The most powerful tool. Not prophesying, not preaching, not all that, just loving people. Real, genuine love. Not fake, because there's a lot of fake love out there, but real, genuine love. I wish everybody watching this could find somebody to love you, to really love you. It'd change your life.
That's good. Well, thank you, Don Babin. That was an awesome talk, and
I sat here.
Yeah, you sat here the whole time. I was so proud. I was like, I did not know how this was gonna go, but it went good. So y'all have a good day.
Bye.